And welcome back to Little Cuts, our sometimes it seems like recently weekly mini-sode where we dig into the things that we've been watching and maybe reading. I'm Terry.
I'm Mary Beth, and this week we are talking about folk horror literature, heavy sci-fi fantasy, lesbian influencer found footage, punching Nazis, fuck yeah, freelancers' worst nightmare, and heroin aliens. And before we dive in, everybody, have you watched Bystanders yet? Because you should. I will continue to pimp out my movie. It's on more
As you
platforms
should.
now, so you should watch it and then leave it. You don't have, if you don't like it, you don't have to leave it a good review, but like don't really leave it a mean one because we're getting like a lot of rude reviews. So I'm trying to see if we can get more that are not as rude. So thanks.
Fuck the rooters. Also, since we're like pimping things out, I just want to throw out there because I haven't talked about it in a minute. The Sexy and Surreal podcast that I co-host with Joe Lipsit as part of the Anatomy of a Scream pod squad. We have been covering David Lynch and David Cronenberg films, their entire filmography. We just recorded our second to last episode about David Lynch, and it was very emotional.
Yeah,
The first episode,
was that rough?
it was very rough. We both got really choked up. That episode's not coming out for a little bit. However, if you've been watching David Lynch and you've been, enjoying his films and honoring him, please go give it a listen. Because we put a lot of effort into it, and I'm really proud of it. So go check that out.
Oh yeah,
please.
yeah. You've watched a lot of David Lynch and David Cronenberg these last few.
We're at the end. I mean, we're at the tail end.
Wild.
We just recorded about Crimes of the Future, and we're going to be recording the final 3 episodes of the Twin Peaks Returns this weekend, and then there's The Shroud, and as of right now, that's going to be it for their filmographies. So, yeah, we're at the very end.
Wild. Wow.
It's been a long journey, but fun. But anyway, enough about other stuff. Let's talk about movies and books, I think. Let's talk about four folk horror literature. For literature.
For literature, yeah. So I just finished what I think is one of my new favorite books, which is very exciting. It is called Slewfoot by Brom, and
Just Brom.
I've seen
Like
this
Beyonce?
book. Yeah, he's an illustrator, so I've seen this book around and seen people talk about it a lot, and it's on the surface, it's like not fully for me because I didn't think, because it's like colonial New England, Puritans, witch trials, and like I thought it was gonna be like kind of typical religious horror. I'm canceling a lot of my Amazon stuff for protest reasons, and I'm trying to get the most out of my Kindle Unlimited before I cancel it. And Slewfoot was on Kindle Unlimited, and I thought, okay, I'm curious about it. Let me read it while I still have this thing where it's technically free. And boy, oh boy, I fucking loved it. It is incredible. And Brom is a male writer, but let me just tell you, I've never read better written female characters for the most part by a dude, so that's pretty exciting.
Really?
Yeah, I was actually very impressed. So the book takes place in this colonial New England village, and Abatha is a young woman who has basically been sold off to the Puritans to marry someone by her alcoholic father. She has come here.
Gross.
She is married to this guy, Edward. She's basically being forced to kind of fit into Puritan society, and she fucking hates it. And on the other end, there is something waking up in the forest, and it becomes the story of Abatha and this forest god, like learning who they are, and then also fighting back against like fucked up patriarchy and puritanical society. And it's like a really incredible revenge story, and
Okay.
it's like not monster fucker, but it's like a little bit sexy, and it like tickled that part of like my annoying weirdly weird interests. And it was such a good story, and I couldn't stop reading it. And then I was really sad when it was over because I'm like no longer in the world of it. But I want this to be a movie. Like, I could feel the movie in it. And it's just, like, so weird. Like, it's unlike any kind of, like, colonial, like, demons and, like, religious horror. It's very much folk horror instead. Because there's, like, the wild folk are these, basically, like, fairies. But one of them is a possum with a child's face. One of them is a fish that swims through the air with a child's face. And another one is a raven with human hands instead of claws. So there's just, like, a lot of really weird imagery happening. And really, it's just so cool and unexpected. And I really, really enjoyed it. And then Brom, who wrote it, is also an illustrator. So there's really cool illustrations that are even included in the Kindle version, but I'm going to buy a copy of this because I loved it so much.
Heck yeah.
So I was very pleased to realize that I was wrong about it, because I just like was like, oh god, another like guy writing about witches and stuff. But
right,
it was much more than that. So I was glad to be proven wrong. Some people think it's slow. I loved the character building. I just think it's a really fascinating like look at how to build a really fascinating world that like you've kind of seen before in literature but really haven't. And I loved reading it. And it's been a really nice piece of escapism, I will say, the past week. And because there's a lot of like rage in it and like female rage, it's also felt very cathartic as well. Because a lot of it is about like fighting back against patriarchy, and it feels very relevant. Even though this is set in 1666, it still feels very relevant.
I'm happy to hear that, because I pulled it up on Amazon and I saw #BestOfBookTalk, and anytime I see that, I'm immediately like,
yeah, oh yeah.
No offense to people that are on Book Talk, but like a lot of times the books that come across there, I'm like,
I will say though, to not horror book talk is very different in my opinion. I love horror book talk because like I found a lot of really good books through there. I think romance book talk I don't really understand, but like
that's what I keep getting into. And I'm like, why?
Well, that's the big one. Like that's the one. But like the horror book talk and like the weird lit girlies are like on point all the time.
Okay.
And they've recommended Slewfoot. But I still was kind of like on the fence because again, it's book talk and sometimes things are overrated. It's like it's expensive. It's like a different kind of format because it's like a wider book. I don't know how to describe it, but it's not like your normal paperback. It's formatted very differently and it's really beautiful. And so now I'm like, oh, it's definitely worth the money.
Yeah. So I also kind of tangentially related to this, but because you mentioned you're trying to get the most out before you, start to. Have you heard of bookshop.org?
Yes.
I've been thinking about. I haven't done it, but I've been thinking about going there because, well, for one, they just recently launched ebooks.
Oh, cool. I didn't realize
there's an app. There's an app for it. And for those that don't know, Bookshop. The reason why I'm like thinking about moving over there is that you can pick a local bookshop or a bookshop that you want to support, and some of the money that you spend on the book gets to them. And since they started in like 2020, I think they've paid out over $35 million to local bookstores and independent bookstores and all this kind of stuff. And if you're looking for ways to speak with your money, that's probably a good way to do it.
Yeah, I know it super is, because Loyalty Books in Silver Spring is this incredible queer and Black owned bookstore. And even during COVID, when we couldn't go there, when we bought our books online, we would make sure like money went to them or we bought through them. So it seriously is. And like they usually will spotlight really good sellers too. So it's like the e-reader stuff has been hard with Amazon, but like it's hard. But...
I mean, that's the problem, is that like Kindle is ubiquitous. It's ubiquitous when it comes to ebooks, and these ebooks won't work on it because of Amazon's DRM situation.
Yeah.
So it's like it's tricky. It's hard. There are some other ones out there, some other ebooks. If anyone has like any experience with like Kobo or any of the other ebooks out there, e-readers out there, can you let us know? Because I am curious. Please. I would love to get out of this ecosystem.
I know, because like Kindle is that's how I read all the time, is on my Kindle app on my phone. And like I love Kindle Unlimited because they have a really good horror selection. So it fucking sucks. And like I know that canceling it is more important than keeping it, but it's just annoying that these companies have a big fucking monopoly on like everything I enjoy.
Yep.
It's fucking gross.
Yep.
Like it's
Yep.
just like gross. But regardless, Slewfoot by Brom is very good. If you're looking for a unexpected piece of folk horror that kind of feels like it's like a witch trial book, but then it becomes this really fascinating look at folk horror and like magic, highly recommend.
Cool. I'm down.
Recommend.
I'm adding it to my list.
I think this is probably a heavy pivot. Heavy sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah. So, like I said last time when we recorded, I've been in the fantasy mood. I think it kind of speaks to the time. And I kind of hinted at what I was watching next, and I have finished the first season and a little bit of the second season of Arcane, the show that's on Netflix. Holy cow. First of all, what a fucking pivot from The Legend of Vox Machina that I was talking about last episode that was a little bit more on the humorous side and a little lighthearted. It had dark moments and the storyline had went to dark places, but it always had a little laugh and a little bit of joy to it. Arcane, oh my God, this is like fucking trauma all the fucking time, but it's so well done. It's so well done.
I've heard this about Arcane. I was trying to remember, because I know that like the Cyberpunk show is also sad, and I couldn't remember if Arcane was also that way. So, yes, I have heard many things about this show.
It's all fucking trauma, but it's so well done. It starts off, when it starts out, we're following Vi and Powder, two sisters who were orphaned in a war and were kind of taken in by this big hulking dude of a man named Vander, who's kind of like their pseudo father. Meanwhile, Vander and his pseudo brother, someone that he had like a really tight relationship with, but then started going down a dark path, they kind of moved away. But it's set in like this kind of very slum city that also is attached as a sister city to a very quote unquote progressive city where they have like all of these like wonderful liberties and freedoms. But the problem is that all of that is like not helping out this other kind of slumish city. And so we have the slums with where Vi and her sister are, where it's so polluted that people that come from the more popular, expensive city have to wear gas masks because they can't breathe the air. And so it's like we have these two divergent cities that are separated by a bridge. There's also this guy that is named Silco who lives in the slums and is building this kind of like a designer drug that when it pumps into people, it starts to change them into monsters. And so he is doing that. We're following that. And we're also following people in the expensive city where we're following kind of like the council as they are trying to create this thing that mixes science with magic, because magic hasn't really been around apparently. And so they're kind of finding out ways to make what they call hex something. But it's basically mechanical meets magic. And so we're following that storyline. We're following Vi and Powder as little kids. Well, Powder is really young, I think like 6 or 7 maybe ish, and Vi is a teenager. And we follow them at the beginning. Something really terrible happens, and we fast forward like 6 or 7 years. It's just like at the center of it is this relationship between Vi and Powder. And Powder turns into between the 6 and 7 years that pass, has become kind of like, I would kind of compare her to like Harley Quinn. She has like this sort of craziness side to her. And she also is like firebombing places and building all of these things. And Vi has been in jail for this entire time. And when she finally gets out and tries to go after her, it's like following their relationship while this bigger political situation is a powder keg and about ready to explode between the two cities. And the cast is great. Haley Steinfeld plays Vi, and Ella Purnell plays Jinx / Powder. Yeah. I'm like, it's so emotionally heavy, but the art style is so, oh my God, it's so fucking gorgeous. It reminds me, I think like the only comparisons I can come to in terms of like art style, and it's not a complete 1-to-1, would be like watching the Spider-Verse movies or that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie that they did that was like animated. It just has like a unique art style that is just unlike any other animated thing I've ever seen. And it is gorgeous, and it is harrowing, and it is emotional, and it has one of the hottest animated guys I've ever seen in my entire life, in Jace. Like Jace.
Okay.
Whew. Whew.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Jayce.
Yeah. Right.
And I think in there's like, if you search him, there's like a couple different kinds of images of him. The one that I'm seeing is the more straight-laced one, but there's also one with ragged hair that I have not been introduced yet. But I'm like, I wonder, I don't know what that
introduced.
I don't know what that storyline is, but goodness. And he's voiced by Kevin Alejandro, who was in Arrow and True Blood and Lucifer. It's 2 seasons. All of both seasons are out. It's a complete story by the end of it. And
okay.
Man, I am blown away by this. I cannot wait to finish watching season 2. But it is a lot of trauma and a lot about like families failing you and trying to come back together after an event that happens that is almost impossible to come back from.
Oh boy, okay.
And it does not fuck around. It is rated TV 14, but I feel like this is actually TVM. It is.
Oh really?
It's violent, and the themes that it's exploring and the things that it's tackling is very mature and very heavy. And man,
okay,
I love it so much.
Yeah, I feel like I have been meaning to watch this, and I just have not. I've also heard that it is like kind of depressing, and I don't know, something about those particular like animated shows that are depressing are like existentially awful, and so they're hard to watch.
Yeah, no, I get it. This is also queer, by the way. I forgot to mention it's queer.
Yeah, I thought, okay, I was gonna ask if this is queer, because I thought so.
Yeah, it's
cool.
Whew, it's so good, and they're longer episodes. They're 40-minute episodes. Like I was expecting like a 20-minute, but no, they're 40-minute. They're almost like drama length sized episodes, and yeah, it's great. And you don't have to know. It's a League of Legends adaptation, but you don't need to know anything about League of Legends. I know nothing about League of Legends. I've played maybe a handful of games, but you don't need to know anything about it. It tells a complete story.
Okay, that's what I heard. I heard that's like, it's League of Legends, but it doesn't matter if you know anything about League of Legends. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So give it a shot. It's on Netflix. The entire show is out there now. 18 episodes, and it's something. Continuing with the queer theme, let's go with lesbian influencer found footage. I think I know what this is, and I'm excited to hear about it.
Yes. So I got an email from Kay Adelaide, who is a queer filmmaker from Montreal, and she was asking just for some advice about film festivals and stuff, and because of bystanders, and like we know the same people, and she just finished her film, The Rebrand, which was a found footage movie. She made it with her partner for $5,000 on credit cards. Like it's like super simple. And I wanted to watch it. I was like, oh, and they're like, yeah, it's queer found footage made by a trans woman and her partner. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, all right, sick. Like, this is exactly what I want and what is hard to find in found footage. And it is so good. It is so funny, and if you are like me and have the algorithm where you see, like, have been drawn into lesbian couple influencer drama and like, or like any kind of lesbian couple drama, this so perfectly captures what watching that is like and what the dynamics are like in a way that I have never seen before. Like, this is the kind of, okay, let me give you a fucking synopsis real quick before I get too into it. So Nicole is a heavily pregnant videographer who takes a job where she is documenting a lifestyle influencer couple. And she is basically capturing footage of them after they have had a scandal and they have been canceled. and they are trying to rebrand themselves and make a documentary to show how they have changed and how their relationship is stronger than ever. And so the film is following Nicole realizing there's a lot more going on than expected with the couple, and their intentions are much freakier than she expected. It's so smart, and it is this kind of, in watching a lot of TikToks and like YouTube content, I think so often about the really cool avenues people haven't gone down yet with found footage in terms of all of these niche things people make. Like, I'm constantly thinking about how the weird content I love to watch, like hoof video, like farrier videos of people like shaping hooves and stuff, like thinking about how that can be like, there's so many cool things online that haven't been realized into horror yet, and that's why I love the Rebrand, because it's like taking this niche part of the internet that is so easily identifiable and making it into a horror movie because it's so easy. And it's just, and the acting is so good, and like, it's incredible that this was made for $5,000 with like the acting. Wow. The acting is just so good, and it just feels, it's also really helpful because they present it like it's a documentary, or like they're presenting it on a YouTube channel, so it gives them a reason to have music, which is really smart because like I've obviously sometimes a stickler for that kind of thing, but they found a really smart way to add the music for effect without it seeming distracting about like, why is there music here? And it doesn't have a distribution yet, but I'm hoping it will very soon, because it's just really smart and funny and creepy, and just, I think, exactly the kind of movie that's perfect for now. And I loved it. It was so good. So I think it's going to have a festival run. So everyone keep your eye on any info about festival runs for this. So this is my new Outwaters, like, movie I watch before everyone else, and will now be dying on the hill of the movie. The Rebrand is now it. And then once again, it is gay as hell, and it's great. Like, they really understand found footage. It's really cool to see, like, how they really get it, and how they also, like, to help with everything. So it's not just one camera. They have, like, surveillance cameras, and there's just, like, it's obviously the shortcuts we do in found footage for more angles, but it's, like, it's smart. The film handles it really intelligently. So,
hell yeah, cool.
Gay girl found footage. It's happening, everybody. It's happening. I'm so excited. I want to make a gay girl found footage, and it's a great movement that we're starting. I'm declaring it now.
I have a screenplay idea about gay girl found footage.
Yes! 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 Yeah. Okay, anyway, I'm just very excited. I also have a couple, anyway, whatever, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so that's the Rebrand. Everyone, please keep your eyes out for it, because it is so good. You know, I'm gonna say these are kind of similar just in, like, politics and, like, spitting in the face of the world and hegemony and patriarchy. Punching Nazis.
Yeah, I don't know why, but recently I have really wanted to punch some Nazis.
I couldn't imagine why you would want to punch a Nazi right now. It's not like they're everywhere.
I have no fucking idea. What an old concept. But so I have an Xbox. I have Game Pass.
I have an Xbox. I don't know why that was so funny to me.
And
cute.
So I was like, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is on Game Pass. I pay for it. I might as well download it and see what this is all about, because I kept hearing good things about it.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, this is developed by Machine Games, and Machine Games are known for a number of different things, but in particular, they rose to fame with the Wolfenstein remakes that came out in the early aughts that went through like 2014 up to where you are shooting a bunch of Nazis. And I was like, I'm curious how an Indiana Jones game would work. Let me tell you, it works incredibly well. It's not actiony. I mean, there's a little bit of action to it, but it's more of I would say a stealth light game. I am not very good at stealth games. and this game
Ugh.
is incredibly forgiving.
I hate stealth games so much. I hate it.
I'm terrible at them, but this game is not that, is very forgiving. You get disguises that allow you to go into different areas, and as long as you stay away from like the high profile people, then you can pretty much sneak through there. There's an option after you knock someone unconscious to like pick up and hide the body, but I've never done it, and it's never been a problem for me. So like I just like I basically have played it like an action stealth game where I sneak up behind a Nazi, take a shovel, bash him on the head, and then go to the next Nazi behind him and bash him on the head. When the shovel breaks, I'm grabbing a bully stick and smacking him. It's just it's fun. There's a lot of punching. There's a lot of grabbing like weapons that are found in the environment that will break after a few uses, and just punching and smacking the shit out of some fucking fascists.
That feels great.
Meanwhile, the story is really interesting. I was really sad yet happy that Tony Todd is in this.
Oh my god, that's right. He's like the bad guy, isn't he? Okay, I watched someone play the beginning of it and watched Indiana Jones like kind of battle him, and I was like, oh my god, Tony Todd.
He starts the initial conflict because he shows up at Indiana Jones's school, breaks in and steals this cat mummy, and so that sets you off to go chase after him to find out what's going on with that. And you start hearing this thing about the Great Circle, and of course the Nazis want to get these artifacts to do the Great Circle for who knows why. I'm not going to spoil it. And so it's basically a globe-trotting adventure where you go to the Vatican and you go to Thailand and you're in Egypt, and there's this really harrowing moment where you were dropped in the Japanese invasion of Shanghai, and you are escaping as the city is blowing up around you. And it's just, yeah, you go up to the...
Huh?
You end up in the Himalayas where a Nazi warship has somehow been positioned on the top of a mountain. There's a lot. It makes sense in the story of the game, but there's like...
I love when you explain it and you're like, I swear it makes sense in the game, and I'm just like...
I swear it makes sense. Nazi warship in the Himalayas? What?
I mean, it's Indiana Jones, of course they're it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, that's
right.
that's par for the course.
But it feels like a really, 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 really well done Indiana Jones adventure. Troy Baker, who is like a famous voice actor. I'm trying to think of like some of the big ones that he's done, like The Last of Us. He's in God of War. He's in Elder Scrolls. He's in The Last of Us. He's Joel in The Last of Us.
That's right. I was like, I feel like we're missing a really important one, and I cannot remember what it is.
he's Drake's brother in one of the Uncharted games.
Cool.
He's a fantastic, and he does an impeccable Indiana Jones accent. He nails Harrison Ford down. It's creepy.
It's fucking weird. Again, like, I watched someone play this, so I've only seen the beginning, but I had to keep going, what? Like, it was just, It was uncanny. It was so weird how good he was at it. It was nuts. He has
the vocal tics, the vocal mannerisms of Harrison Ford down, the way he talks, the way, it's just, it's perfect. I am gobsmacked at how good he is in it. But it's fun. It's a blast to play. It's a lot of fun to kick the shit out of some Nazis, and the globe-trotting adventure and all of the... It's great. It's only on the Xbox right now, but it is coming to PlayStation 5. Oh, and Windows. It's also on Windows. But it's coming to PlayStation 5 sometime this year, I believe. And I would, if you don't have an Xbox or a PC, I would keep this in your mind for when it comes out to PlayStation 5 if you have one, because it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot more fun than I ever thought it would ever be. So that's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Pivoting again, a freelancer's worst nightmare.
So this is one of those movies that I got emailed about and was just like, I'm not going to watch it because it just is like, it seems like, unfortunately, another movie, and I cannot watch every movie. But then the actress in this movie, called Freelance, DM'd me and was like, hey, Like, I wrote about the trailer, and I was like, I'll write about the trailer and do something for it, and, like, but, like, I don't always have time to watch everything we write about, because, Jesus Christ, I would never have time for anything. And the lead actress in this, her name is Nicole Pastor, DM'd me. I was like, you wrote about us, it would really mean a lot if you watched it, and I was like, alright, fuck it, like, I'll watch it. You asked, and, like, why not? You know, I'm lucky enough that while I work, I watch a lot of stuff, so, like, I have that privilege of being able to watch things during the day for my job, which is kind of cool. So this is an Australian film called Freelance, like I said, directed by John Balaz. I've never heard of him before. He's directed a couple other things, but I've never seen any of his stuff. But this film, I mean, it's pretty basic. Not basic, but a freelancer who is very desperate, takes a job, ends up editing snuff films, and it kind of spirals out from there. And I think it captures really perfectly, in a really fucked up way, like, what it means, like, what a freelancer, like, what it means to be, like, the grind. I think a lot of movies and a lot of media try to capture that, but they don't, like, kind of fully get what it means to be freelance, like, how difficult it is, and, like, how getting money is, so, like how hard it is to make sure you get paid on time, and how, like, you did a lot of work, but then none of it's, you haven't gotten paid on time, so now you can't pay your rent, and it's all just a mess. And so this movie does an incredible job of showing, like, yeah, it sounds like a cool gig, but it's a fucking nightmare to do, and how desperate it can make you, because, like, I've obviously never done anything like this, but, like, you know, when I was trying to do freelancing, I was doing, like, a lot of weird marketing writing and, like, SEO marketing writing that I was not related to anything I liked, but that's what you do to make money when, like, you know, writing full-time about entertainment is just, like, unfortunately not gonna pay the bills for me. So in watching this movie about a woman named Katie just, like, taking on this gig and being like, it's fake, it's totally fake, and then realizing it's not, and then getting sucked into it deeper and deeper, and, like, what that means and how her life starts falling apart, it's just like, oh, it feels real in a way, just because I've experienced that life as a freelancer, and, like, it's really refreshing to see it depicted so, like, not in a, like, a look, she's a beautiful journalist who has, like, a beautiful apartment. It's like, no, this is fucking terrible. She lives in a shitty apartment and eats, like, garbage every day and barely has enough money to pay her rent. And she's also, like, kind of a shitty character and a shitty person, which I love. Like, she's very heavily guarded, so she's a dick. And I really enjoyed it. It's a little predictable, but I think it goes to some, like, weird enough places that I can excuse that, and also it gets a lot of, again, like, the freelancing culture stuff right in a way that I haven't seen before, so it's forgivable. And it's a little long, I will say. It's, like, almost 2 hours. Is that right? Almost 2 hours? Yeah, it's almost 2 hours, so I think it's, like, a little repetitive at points, just, like, kind of showing what's going on, like, the process of her, like, getting footage to cut more stuff and things. Like, it's, like, it repeats the cycle maybe one too many times. But it's a really cool little indie thriller that also meshes, like, really weird found footage stuff. Like, when they do the snuff films, they do, like, really good creepy found footage vibes, so it's a really good kind of hybrid found footage movie too. Okay. So it's out, I believe it's out now. Yes, okay, I just found my email about it too, because we exclusively debuted the trailer. Duh. Yes, it is on digital, and it's on VOD, so if you would like to go watch it, it's on VOD. I recommend, if you're looking for something a little, like a crime thriller that's female-led, and it's just, like, you want to support indie projects, I highly recommend. It's worth the time.
Heck yeah.
So that is Freelance. And to take us out, Heroin Aliens. And take us out, Heroin Aliens.
Yeah, so this is Addison Heimman's new film.
Yeah!
We had him We had him on the podcast. He wrote and directed Hypochondriac. And so this is his latest film called Touch Me, which premiered at Sundance. Have you seen it?
No, not yet. Is it good? I want to see it so bad.
It is good. It is quite a bit different from Hypochondriac.
Yeah,
because
I've heard.
Hypochondriac made me very emotional by the end of the movie, and it's
Jesus
a very
fucking Christ, you think?
it's a very like sad film about mental illness and having to basically end up coping with mental illness, whereas Touch Me is about two best friends, one played by Olivia Taylor-Dudley, the other one by Jordan Gavaris, who was in Orphan Black, one of my favorite characters in Orphan Black. And they are best friends that are incredibly codependent on each other, to the point where they tend to drag each other down. At the very beginning of the film, Joey, the female main character, is at some therapy session that we find out was paid by Craig, her gay best friend, and where she talks about how she meets this guy and she ends up going out with him, and it turns out that he's an alien, and so she has this encounter with him that ends up turning into kind of rape, and she escaped from him. And so the start of the movie, she is dealing with some PTSD with the event of what happened, where he was like, everything was going well, and then he seemed to just lose control and started being he wouldn't take no for an answer. And so the start of it is her living with Craig, and Craig doesn't work. He has money from his family, and so he doesn't really do anything, and she's looking, quote unquote, for a job, but not really. Okay. And
they sound like they suck.
Yeah, they
and
really
I mean
do.
That with love, because
horrible.
I love characters that suck. So like that's why I'm like, all right, yeah, I vibe with that, because I love characters that are like, oh girl, oh boy, oh God. Ugh.
They are terrible together, because all they keep doing is like, she just, at one point the bathroom explodes into shit. Like shit is just pouring out of everything, and they don't have the money to fix it. Because while he seems to get paid from his family, like he doesn't, he's like, seems to be on the verge of getting cut off. And so instead of like doing something about it, she's like, I'll go get a job, but then she doesn't get a job. And then she comes home and they're putting like lotion under their nose so that they don't smell the shit around their house.
Oh,
so like they just,
my God. Okay. All right. I'm getting the picture. It's coming together.
Yes.
It's coming together.
At one point, she talks about how they're fucking trash pandas. So this is happening, and then the alien comes back into their lives, and they need a place to kind of go. And so the idea is to like, maybe he apologizes. He says that he lost control, yada yada yada. They kind of go to his palatial mansion, and it sort of unfolds from there. The thing is that they're so addicted to his touch, because when he touches people, or when they have like any kind of intimate relationship, even touching, like physical, he takes away all of your anxiety, he takes away all of your pain, and he makes you feel really fucking good. And so these two very broken, codependent people end up basically going to his palatial mansion, where he is taking away their anxiety, but of course there's something maybe sinister lurking just below the surface.
Of course.
And
but they're dickmatized, baby.
They are, and they're tentacle-matized. Like, this is a man that ends up having tentacles come out, and there is definitely some monster fucking and some tentacle fucking going on here. Yes. It's definitely like, I would say that this movie is very much influenced by maybe A couple different things, all Japanese flavored. Like I
Ugh,
would say, like the
I
70s and 80s
know.
Japanese uh, type of cinema, as well as hentai. And
Yes. I'm so
and
excited.
like Hypochondriac, Touch Me is about mental illness, but unlike that film, which was kind of focused, as I said, on like learning to live and cope with your mental illness, this is
Yeah.
focused on the ways in which we lie to ourselves and kind of feed ourselves pills, drugs, placebos, whatever, to kind of mask the pain, but not actually fix the problem.
Woo.
And it's also about like dancing and interspecies intercourse, which is a
That
phrase that is used
sounds
multiple
hot.
times.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds.
So
Oh, Addison. I'm so excited. And he got into Sundance with
wild.
his fucking tentacle fucker movie. I'm so proud.
I know. There's there's a line of dialogue between the two of them early on in the film that just kills me. First of all, Joey comes out of her room with the wolf mask from Hypochondriac and her dildo, and she says that she's a werewolf dildo monster. She's like swinging the dildo around, and
Oh my
Craig's response
god.
is, "Your queef juice is everywhere." So that's sort of like
I also love
the
that it's
dialogue.
like it's a best female friend and gay friend. I love that it's
Yeah,
not like I don't know, something about that I just love.
it's great.
Oh, I can't
It's wild.
wait
It's weird.
to see it.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for it.
Completely different from Hypochondriac,
Ugh, I love
but
that
still
though.
tackling similar things. It's interesting.
I love it. I love that he was able to go from like this like very heartfelt, intense film about mental health and like intergenerational trauma to like a monster fucker movie. It's very
It's
good.
really silly. It's really
Ugh,
silly.
I love it. Oh, wow. It's great.
Yeah. Uh,
What a
well,
incredible what a wild episode today. We covered a lot.
I know, all over the place. All over the place. But Mary Beth, who are we talking with on Monday?
So on Monday, we were chatting with Zach Dean, who is the screenwriter of the new Apple TV Plus film The Gorge, which is directed by Scott Derrickson. I am not sure if anyone has seen marketing for this. I personally have not. I don't know if I am just in the minority here, but
Nope.
I will say, not to break embargo, but it is actually very good. And when it comes out, highly recommend giving it a watch because
Yep.
it's fun as shit. But we also speak with this screenwriter, Zach Dean, about The Terminator. Finally, someone brought The Terminator. So,
I know, surprising.
so get ready for that on Monday. Very excited.
Yeah, and definitely, again, not breaking embargo, but I did not know that the gorge existed until you had mentioned it, Mary Beth, offline initially, and I don't think it's being marketed incredibly well, but it is. It's worth watching.
It's sci-fi, horror, action, romance.
Mm-hmm.
Which
With Miles
sounds
Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy
it
and
sounds
Sigourney
nuts.
Weaver.
And it is nuts. But like in a fun way. So
Yeah.
neat.
Yep.
Cool. Well, listeners, you've heard from us. We want to hear from you. Did you experience anything that we talked about this week? Because we talked about video games and books and movies. And TV. Wow. All of the media.
All of it.
Tell us if you have some opinions about it. If you have suggestions for us, for things to talk about, let us know. You can send us an email at scarredforlifepod. You can send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com. Or you can reach out to us on social media. I'm really just on Blue Sky right now at MB McAndrews and also on Instagram at mb.mcandrews.
And I'm I'm everywhere at Gaily Dreadful, but I'm really only on Blue Sky.
And of course, keep the conversation going by chatting with us on Blue Sky at Scarred Podcast.
And please don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe. It's been a minute since we've had a review, so we would love a review.
Please. Thank you to Eric Power for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you everyone for listening. Please stay safe out there, but most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time.